When you purchase a new home, what's due when you're closing on your home? In this video, I'll be walking you through everything you need to know about closing costs and what to expect. Let's dive in. So you've found your dream home and you're ready to make it yours. But before you dive in head first into the paperwork, let's talk about the financial side of things. Because let's face it, you guys, nobody wants surprises when it comes to purchasing a new construction home. There are 3 deposits or monies due when it comes to purchasing a brand new construction home. Number 1, earnest money deposit. Number 2, structural and design upgrades and deposits. And number 3, closing costs. Number 1, earnest money deposit. The earnest money deposit is the first deposit that the builder will collect upon signing the purchase agreement. Think of it as a good faith gesture when purchasing a brand new construction home with the builder. The amount could vary, but it's usually a percentage. I've seen anywhere from 1 to 3% of the total purchase price. Number 2, structural and design upgrades and deposits. Structural or design upgrades are additional features that you may want to make or change to your brand new construction home. Structural upgrades are things like upgrading your multi-slider in your great room to a larger one, converting one of your lofts into a bedroom, or maybe adding a sink in your laundry room. These structural upgrades are usually predetermined and added in your purchase agreement. Design upgrades, on the other hand, will be determined after you've signed your purchase agreement. The builder will schedule a series of design center appointments, usually starting with a virtual appointment, then moving on to an in-person appointment at the design center. At the design center, you could touch and feel all of your finishes and select finishes such as flooring, cabinets, staircase finishes, window coverings, and even light fixtures. Depending on the builder and the community, you'll be asked to put a deposit down for your design upgrade. Those design upgrades that I have seen are up to 20% of the total design package, or for some builders, it may be 50% after a certain threshold amount. Just to give you an example, that threshold amount may be $5,000 to $10,000. Anything above that in design upgrades, you're required to pay 50% of upfront at this time in the design center. By the way, if we haven't met yet, konnichiwa, my name is Kaori Nagao, your global real estate advisor, helping you find your new home. Whether it's new construction or resale anywhere in the world, I'll be more than happy to help you. Remember, I have Sotheby's referral partners in every market in every city, so feel free to reach out to me. I love it when you engage with me, so keep commenting and let's keep going. Number 3, closing costs. These are fees associated with finalizing the purchase of your new construction home. They can include fees such as title insurance, transfer taxes, loan fees, and even appraisal fees. Closing costs are due at the closing table, which is the final step in your home purchasing journey. Let me break down the closing costs by sharing with you an example from a recent transaction. So first note that closing costs are paid both by the seller and by the buyer. And for this example, the seller is KB Homes. As you can see to the left, there's a column for the seller for both debit and credit. And on the right-hand side, there's a column for the buyer for the debit and the credit. The first line item is the sale price. And as you can see, on the seller's side, it's a credit of $528,025. And on the buyer's side, it's a debit of $528,025. Also on the buyer's side, there's a credit of $422,420, which is their loan amount by KB Homes. Now, let's talk about prorations and adjustments. They refer to the process of allocating and dividing certain costs between the buyer and the seller based on how long they own the property. Prorations ensure that both the buyer and seller pay a fair share of expenses that have been incurred but not yet billed. These can include property taxes. If the sellers have already paid property taxes for the year, they will prorate the portion that covers the time they own the property. Homeowners Association fees, or HOA fees. If the property is part of an HOA, any fees incurred by the seller will be prorated. Adjustments, on the other hand, are changes made to the closing costs based on certain conditions or agreements. Some common adjustments include earnest money deposit. If you recall, earnest money deposit is the first deposit that the buyer needs to pay the builder upon signing the purchase agreement. That would be a credit on the buyer's side and a debit on the seller's side. Seller credits. These seller credits may be towards towards your closing costs, purchase price, or design center credit. Prepaid items. If the buyer is prepaying certain items such as homeowner's insurance or property taxes, they will be adjusted accordingly. Now let's take a look at the example together on the proration and adjustments. As you can see, we have county taxes, that's prorated, debit on the seller's side, and credit on the buyer's side. LIS and CIS are special improvement district taxes that are often common when purchasing a new construction community. Now, seller credit, there's actually two, but I was able to negotiate a total of $30,000 in seller's credit for this particular transaction. Earnest money deposit to the seller. So the earnest money deposit in this case was approximately 9% of the total sale price at $47,199, and then option money for deposit to seller. This applies to the design, upgrades, and deposit that my client did in the amount of $8,851. Loan charges. Prepaid interest is a type of loan charge that is often required for all mortgages. It's essentially interest that's paid up front before the first official payment is due. This can be a significant amount, especially for larger loans. Lender fees, also known as origination fees, are fees to the lender for processing your loan application. These fees can vary based on the lender, the loan type, and also the buyer's credit score. Common lender fees include application fees, processing fees, underwriting fees, and document preparation fees. Appraisal fees. An appraisal fee is the cost of hiring a professional appraiser to do a market evaluation and assess the value of the home that you're purchasing. This is typically required by the lenders in order to verify that the property is worth as much as the loan amount. And why is an appraisal necessary? Lenders also want to make sure they're not overpaying for a home that's not valued at the market value condition. So in this example, let's go over the loan charges. And as you can see, these are all debits on the buyer's side. So starting with prepaid interest, lender fee, 6.907% of loan amount points. This line item in the amount of $29,176.55 represents the closing costs that I had used that was given to us by the seller credit of the $30,000 towards interest buy down. When my buyer got under contract, interest rates were in the high sevens. So we needed to do an interest buy down in order to pull down the interest rate down to 6.907% so that the monthly mortgage payment was affordable for my particular buyer. So we used majority of the seller credit in this case to buy down the rates. Credit report for research, final inspection fee, flood certification, MERS fee, tax service fees, and undisclosed debt report fee was all part of the loan charges for this particular transaction. Impounds, also known as escrow accounts, are commonly found as a line item in a mortgage loan. They're essentially a savings account that the lender establishes for collecting recurring expenses. So what costs are typically included in impound? Property taxes. These are tax levied on your property by the local government. Homeowner's insurance. This insurance protects your property against damage from fire, theft, and other perils. Mortgage insurance. If you have a conventional mortgage with a down payment of less than 20%, you'll likely be required to purchase mortgage insurance. In this example, under impounds, we have aggregate adjustment. It's a credit for $243.69. And then we have debit for homeowner's insurance 1 month, city property taxes 6 months, and county property taxes for 1 month. Title changes and escrow settlement charges. When you purchase a property, you become a brand new legal owner. This transfer of ownership is called a title change. The title is a legal document that proves your ownership to this property. Escrow settlement charges. Escrow or settlement charges are fees associated with closing. These fees are paid at the closing table, which is the final step in your home purchasing journey. Let me give you an example of these fees. Title fees. These fees cover the cost of transferring the title of the property from the seller to the buyer. Escrow fees. This is a fee charged by the escrow company that handles the closing process. Recording fees. These fees are charged by the county recorder's office to record the deed and other documents related to the property transfer. Transfer taxes. These are taxes imposed by the state or local government on the transfer of the property ownership. Attorney fees. This is the cost of legal services related to the closing process. Survey fees. If a survey is required to determine the property boundaries, there will be a survey fee. Home inspection fees. While not always required, a home inspection fee is typically paid by the buyer to have a professional inspection of the property for defects. In my example, here are the title charges and escrow settlement charges. We have Eagle Owner's Policy to KB Home Title Services, which is a debit to the seller. ALTA Loan Policy to KB Home Title Services, which is a debit to the buyer. And we have other debits to the buyer, including planned unit development, current assessment to KB Home Title Services, environmental product lien, restrictions, encroachments, minerals, closing protection letter, escrow fee, and notary signing fee to First American Title Insurance Company. Commission, government recording and transfer charges. When you purchase a property, you'll be required to pay some fees to the government in order to record the transfer of ownership. These fees are also collected at the closing table, and they include recording fees and transfer fees. Miscellaneous items. Miscellaneous are other fees that were not covered in the above sections. For example, marketing fees. Or in this case, for my example, they've added HOA fees into the miscellaneous section. So let's take a look at that together. I covered 3 areas. So in my example, let's start with commission. As you can see, the commission was $10,560.50. That is a debit to the seller. Government recording and transfer charges. As you can see, this is also a debit to the seller. Real property transfer tax. Under miscellaneous, we have several debits under the buyer, including association dues, HOA proration, HOA capital contribution, transfer fee, homeowner's insurance premium, and then we have a marketing fee, and this is just a KB Home marketing fee to Inspirata, the master plan community, in the amount of $1,848.09. We also have tax installment, which is a debit to the buyer. And when everything is calculated, you can see the subtotal. In this case, we have the subtotal here of the debit and the credit. And then this line item is what's due at closing, you guys. So due from buyer, this line here, $56,272.20 is the total closing cost that my buyer needed to wire to the escrow company at the day of closing. Now it's time for a pop quiz. I know you've been waiting for this. The first person to answer correctly will get a shout out on my next YouTube short. Let's go. What is the first deposit the builder asks when purchasing a brand new construction home? A, earnest money deposit. B, structural upgrades deposit. C, design upgrades and deposits. And D, closing costs. So there you have it. Closing costs can seem overwhelming, but with an experienced buyer's agent by your side, they could walk you through the home buying process of a new construction home smoothly. For more videos about new construction homes, or if you're thinking about buying new anywhere in the world, make sure you check out one of the videos surrounding me. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for finding me. It'll make me really happy if you could smash that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you're made aware of my weekly content. Thank you so much. I love it when you engage with me, so keep commenting and see you on the next one.